Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in 15th chapter, Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Spirit. All souls are Purushas. Purushas representing their lords of their body, mind, intellect, that Lord potentiality there. And Purushottama is the essential nature of your soul. Think of the sun and its illuminations. The sun is Purushottama, the Supreme Self. All reflected suns are Purushas, identified with body, mind, intellect, senses, and as if confined to different parts. Parts are your embodied personalities. The purpose of Purushottama Yoga is to understand that from the status of being a jiva, a soul, moving from body to body, realization means a reflected sun. Instead of moving from one part to another, turns its attention to who am I, and the truth behind it. Every reflected sun is essentially the sun. So from limited understanding led by conditioned mind to illumined understanding, enlightened understanding. This is allegorically described as cutting down the world tree, which has roots above and branches below. Asanga sastrena. And you cut it down by developing absolute detachment. Detachment is again allegorical term. In 5th verse, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvaindvair vimukta sukha dukha sangyai gacchantya mudha padamavyayam tat. He who is devoid of pride and delusion. This verse I have already touched in the previous discourse, but presently repetition is important because that's the state of cutting down the tree. When we say cut down the world tree, implying developing all these qualities, be devoid of pride and delusion, who has conquered the evil of attachment, who is steady in meditating upon the self, who has turned away from worldly desires and is free from pairs of opposites in the form of pleasure and pain. He, not being deluded, reaches the immutable abode. For a reflected sun moving from pot to pot is transient abodes. Every embodied condition is a transient condition. But realizing I am the sun, that's immutable abode. So try to understand which house you want to live in. The house that collapses, or that abode which is eternal. Having that revelation, I am that sun, Aham Brahmasmi, you have reached that abode, immutable abode. And that's the goal of life. Cutting down, progressing towards the abode, reaching the abode, all these are allegorical terms. Now, that state where the world tree has been cut down is being highlighted. How glorious is that state? That state is the reality behind everything in this world. Verse number 6. Na tadbhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yadgatva na nivartante taddhama paramam mama. That is my supreme abode, which is neither illumined by sun, nor moon, nor fire. My devotees, having reached that abode, do not return to the world process. In this world, three sources of illumination are our practical reality. Fire provides you with all the lamps, etc., and cooks your food, brings all delicacies of your tea. Fire is one light. Moon that nourishes the world in a special way. All the trees and herbs are especially nourished, as well as all living beings have a nectarine influence because of the moon. And the role of the sun you can easily understand. Sun supports all realities, all practical realities. But these three terms, sun, moon, and fire, they are allegorical. Fire is that type of illumination that keeps you aware of practical reality, which is called Bhu. There are three lokas, Bhur, Bhuva, Swa. Practical realities that you experience through your senses. Bhuva is advanced state of reality that you experience by your sentiments. And Swa, more advanced reality that you experience by your understanding. Understand, you are living in three planes. Three planes are blended. In your practical world, you work hard to have the best residence you can possibly obtain. And and you go through it. But no matter how best is your residence, if your sentimental world is not calm, relaxed, and fulfilled, you remain miserable. So, compared to all practical luxuries and palatial residences, having a state where your heart feels relaxed, your loving nature feels internally fulfilled, when your cherished desires are led to fulfillment, that experience is more than living in palatial buildings, owning palaces, and so forth. That's called bhuva, bhur bhuva. And the world now experienced through your understanding, the same world that you always view as real, led by satsanga and study of Vedanta and practice by integral yoga, you come to understand this world is an illusory superimposition on Brahman, snake on the rope. But this revelation is a progressive movement. You go on understanding the illusory nature of the world until the entire world is viewed as unreal. That movement creates another dimension of experience that you cannot imagine how joyous and magnanimous that experience is. And that's called swa. Bhur bhuva swa. Experience in that realm of practical reality. The experience that you gain by your sentimental purity, an experience that you gain as your understanding begins to be enhanced. And the goal is beyond all the three. Your intellectual understanding remains limited no matter how greater is your understanding. Intuitive understanding sees the entire world as illusory. So, cutting down the tree of the world process implies going beyond the three planes. And that's the purpose of sannyasa. Bhuh sannyastam maya, bhuvah sannyastam maya, swah sannyastam maya. And these three are allegorically described as being illumined by fire, practical reality, moon, sentimental reality, sun, the reality based on intellectual understanding. But behind all the three is Brahman. And that Brahman is your essential nature. Realizing that means you have cut down the tree. Yad gatva nanivartante. Having attained that, you will not come back into the cycle of birth and death forever. And this is such a great ideal that in Hindu tradition, during waving of light, you recite this verse that is reiterated in Kathopanishad. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti, kutoyam agni, tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. That Supreme Self is not illumined by the sun, nor the moon, nor stars, nor flashes of lightning. How can it be illumined by fire? This is the exact translation of that which is recited every time there is waving of light. All this is illumined by the light of the Supreme Self. And that's what you impress your mind at the conclusion of every satsanga. Mama ivansho jiva loke jiva bhutah sanatanaha manah shasthani indriyani prakrijasthani karshati. In the world of embodied beings, a ray of my eternal self manifests as the individual soul, which, abiding in Prakriti, draws to itself the five senses, with the mind being the sixth. Every soul is like a reflected sun. Essential nature of every soul. It relates to Brahman. Sun means Brahman, the Absolute. In the state of bondage, the reflected sun draws from Prakriti five senses and mind. This is again allegorical statement called Upalakshana. Five senses and mind means drawing, the soul draws Antahakarana, the whole mindset, Chitta Ahamkar, Buddhi, Manas. Five Indriyas, the senses of perception. Five Karmendriyas, the five urges created by pranas. Karmendriya movement means organs of action. But organs of action are not just physical. Their source is in the mental state. In brief, Indriyas, Karmendriyas, all are included in your subtle body. So all these are drawn by your soul. What type of mind, what type of intellect, what type of senses. The soul draws all these, led by karmic movement. And draws from where? From Prakriti. Shariram yada vapnoti yachapyutkramati shvaraha grihitvaitani sanjati vayur gandhani vasayat. When the Lord as a jiva acquires this body, and when he leaves it, he takes the mind and senses and goes with them, just in the same manner as the wind takes fragrance from their seeds. The wind blows, but it carries fragrance, but carries the fragrance from one place to a limited spot, in a limited distance, and then the fragrance simply goes away. Just like so spontaneously the wind carries fragrance, your soul carries Linga Sharira. Linga Sharira, to go into details, there are 18 ingredients that go to form subtle body. Subtle and causal body, both blended, is called Linga Sharira. And what are those? Buddhi, intellect, mind, manas, ego, ahamkar, 5 jnanendriyas, 5 senses of perception, 5 karmendriyas, 5 organs of action, 5 tanamatras, 5 subtle elements, all together becomes 18. Some people count all this as 17, when by using mind, intellect also is included in that mind. Then it becomes 17. These are just ordinary details. So, these 18 tattvas that stay in your subtle causal body, subtle and causal body both blended, is Linga Sharira. These tattvas are taken from one personality to another. As you incarnate, your personality changes. So in every embodiment, you go out from one house, one embodied state, you enter into another embodied state. And your Linga Sharira goes with you, and it goes on changing, led by your karma. And if you are practicing yoga, your Linga Sharira will dissolve, and you will realize, I am Brahman. Each time the soul leaves the body, Linga Sharira goes along with the soul. Just like the breeze, leaving one forest, moving to another, leaves the fragrance of one forest behind and carries the fragrance of another forest, from forest to forest. It has no rest. Shotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. Presiding over the mind and the senses of hearing, sight, touch, taste, and smell. Who is the presiding spirit behind your mind? Who uses your mind, intellect, senses, etc.? Who means your soul. Your soul works like a lord, master, dominating the function of your mind, dominating the function of your senses, as well as organs of action, as well as the pranas. All these are being led by the soul in its journey to enlightenment. And even when you are enjoying the objects of the world, all those factors are involved. Your mind, your senses, your intellect, your chitta, your pranas, all these are involved. And you are always the ruler over them. This point is brought out in the Vedantic inquiry. You inquire into who am I? Who is the doer? Who is the enjoyer? And who is the ruler of your senses, mind, intellect, etc. And you are led to understand that the soul is the highlight behind it. Without the soul, all these will become purposeless. But what is the nature of the soul? Soul is a reflected sun. Its essential nature is the sun itself. When this understanding dawns, then even though you are using your mind, your senses, your intellect, and all these I have described of Linga Sharira, even though you use them and you are apparently dependent upon them, yet deep down you are free. If you have come to that state, you have attained Sthita Prajna. You have cut down the tree from its very root. You are a Jivan Mukta, liberated sage. Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudhananu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. Though abiding in the body, moving from one body to another, and enjoying the objects of the senses, this jiva, enveloped by the gunas, modes of nature, is not seen by the ignorant. In other words, the ignorant don't have the understanding that what you are the sun. You are not reflected sun. Reflected sun is dependent upon senses, mind, intellect, and all those that we have described. But reality in you is not dependent at all. Who understands this? One who has jnana chakshu, intuitive knowledge. One who doesn't have the jnana chakshu, worldly vision. And when you have worldly vision, then this is your world. The world of countless miseries, countless challenges, a world of mortality, a world that is afflicted by mortality virus. And if you begin to understand this, you create a kind of locked up state from this virus. An antaranga movement, an internalized movement. Yatanto yoginaschainam pasyantyatmanyavastitam. Yatanto piyakritatmano nainam pashyantya chetasaha. The yogis devoted to the practice of yoga behold the self within their own self. But those who are dull-wit, and undisciplined, they do not perceive that self, the absolute self, even though striving to do so. Here, simple points are being given. If you practice yoga, it refers to integral yoga, allowing your action to flow according to the rules of karma yoga. All your activities based on sentiments, they must bring out that vision that God is being loved through all names and forms. That movement is Bhakti Yoga. And then there is movement for your will. How to create a powerful will, a will that keeps always swilling, as it were. But a will to discover who am I. That's the real will. The will to discover I am Brahman. That movement is Raj Yoga. And your will aspect is gradually led to be transformed in Raj Yoga. Similarly, your reasoning becomes transformed into intuitive understanding by Jnana Yoga. All these four yogas go into a form of rhythmic practice, like four strings of a veena is brought into melody. So from malady to melody, if these four are disintegrated, you are suffering from malady. I don't have described malady. But when they are being coordinated, harmonized, integrated, then your life begins to flow like melody. When musicians sing of bhajans, same bhajan, you read it, it doesn't inspire you so much. But hear the music and the melody that captures the minds of people, and look at the people, how they are entranced when a bhajan is being sung. So that's what the role of integral yoga is. And led by integral yoga, the soul ascends 7 steps of wisdom, Jnana Bhumika, which we have said before, but it needs to be repeated again and again. Shubhecha, aspiration. If you don't have aspiration growing in your personality, you are living a purposeless life. But aspiration begins to turn your perspiration into inspiration. Same labor, same effort. Even greater effort is you get involved. But if you have aspiration, you have the strength of inspiration. So that's your first step, Shubhecha. Next step, the movement that begins to pressure, begins to diminish the pressure from your thoughtful mind. Thoughtful mind is pressured by anxieties, worries, frustrations. But this burden of anxiety, etc., begins to diminish when you begin to understand in a profound way. And that's called vicharana. When you allow by satsanga, what's the truth about things, what is false and what is truth, how the world you are experiencing is a kind of computer type. If we say it's an iPad, based on your brain, how brain is activated, accordingly you experience the world. You see in your iPad all types of things you want to enjoy. Open the website of dancing peacocks. One touch. Now, another touch, you open the door to see vultures eating up rotten stuff. You can open up most inspiring scenes, or you can open up most tragic and hellish scenes, all by the tip of your finger. And that's what your brain does. That's the miracle of karma. Karma allows you how to use this iPad, and you are constantly involved with experiences based on brain activity. The real you is not dependent upon the brain activity. This is your iPad. In your spiritual advancement, this iPad, the I, aham and mama, ahamata and mamata, must gradually fade away. They stay, but they don't dominate your personality. The entire presentation caused by the iPad, is Maya, is illusion. The reality is Brahman. All the stories created by illuminations of the sun are illusion. The sun is the reality. So that movement, because vicharana movement, shubhecha vicharana, and that brings about tanu manasi. Your mind becomes unburdened by impurities of kama, krodha, lobha. And this leads to sattvapatti. Now your mind becomes enlightened. You cut down the tree of the world process by the weapon of asanga, detachment. In sattvapatti state, you become liberated. That's the state of your sthita prajna state. And now, advanced stages come spontaneously. There's no effort needed on your side. You will automatically go into asam sakti. The world will be there, but you will not be tarnished by the world. Patatyangar varshecha vati va malaya nile bhutale vrajati vyomni shamam aste gya atmani. Burning embers may fall, or breeze laden with fragrance may blow. One who has reached that state, characterized by shama, absolute serenity, absolute peace, his status will never be shaken. So that type of movement is again progressive movement, more and more detachment, and that leads to padartha bhavana. The whole world of matter becomes illusory. The entire world of projected world begins to be lifted. What we always talk about, bhava pratyaya and pratyaya bhava. Projected world is bhava pratyaya. And projected world simply fades away. Just like in sleep, the projected world of dream fades away and you go into absence of projection. And that padartha bhavana culminates in turiya, the state where all the three stages are transcended: waking, dream, deep sleep. This is the fourth step, turiya. All these are implied in these verses, and we will continue next time. Om Ram 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 Ram. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Rasa grace of God over all of you with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.